Hi everyone, hope everything's going okay. Welcome to Module 6. When we look at Module 6, you know we're going to be focused on the role of reading Chapter 8 and focusing on quiz number 5. Make sure that when you look at this week that you focus on a couple of the key determinants of what GDP is and how it influences a lot of the decisions that we have to make in our economy. The key to GDP is it's calculating what we're producing by consumers, businesses, the government, and net exports, international sector. When you look at this week, we're going to be focused on how to measure GDP with two different types of terms that we're going to focus on: nominal GDP and real GDP. Nominal GDP is going to be focused on looking at current price, current output. Now, when we look at real GDP, it's going to be holding constant the price. And that's going to be a key component when it holds constant the price. So when we look at the U.S. economy, you notice we can actually evaluate a couple different things in terms of how we look at things. But the focus will be on what we look at in terms of the measurement. And the measuring way, the best way to measure our economy is through real GDP, because we're holding prices constant and we're only looking at the analysis through a different way. So that's where you want to put your focus on. Put your focus on real GDP and the calculation of GDP, and then look at each factor and what it looks like when you evaluate GDP. When you look at quiz number 5, you're going to have 20 questions. You get one attempt at quiz number 5, so make sure that when you start the quiz that you're focused on it and you're ready to go to take it, because this will help you to do well. So now, some of the questions that you might see on quiz number 5 is going to be looking at the role of economic growth. How's the role of economic growth achieved? If we look at full employment in our economy, what does that mean, the achievement of full employment? Another thing we're going to look at: what is not a supply factor in economic growth? What is not a supply factor? You're going to have about 2 to 3 questions on the production possibility frontier and what happens if we increase human capital or labor productivity. If that occurs, you're going to see a shift of the production possibility frontier. So that's important to look at. A couple other questions you might see: dealing with economies of scale. Economies of scale is looking at how we produce more and more and the per unit cost will decline. So that's key, economies of scale. Another question will be on human capital, and human capital is the knowledge that we are doing right now, gaining, and skills. Okay, so that's human capital. We're going to be looking at labor productivity. How is it defined and how is it measured? Labor productivity is looking at how much a worker makes per hour, and that's how we measure them. What are they producing? Okay, so how is it measured? How is it defined? Another question on the quiz is going to be looking at real per capita GDP. This is looking at how much each person produces within a country while holding prices constant. Another question looks at the outward shift of a nation's production possibility curve, and that looks at economic growth when we look at that outward shift. Another question looks at economic growth and pollution. So if the economy keeps growing, you'll notice we're going to be faced with some challenges with regard to pollution. So we're going to focus on pollution. What will happen? More growth, more pollution? Is there some trade-offs with that? Another thing we're going to look at is what are some challenges to economic growth? Another question is going to be looking at how do you calculate real GDP per capita? What is real GDP per capita? What is free trade? Free trade is looking at a country that has no barriers, can trade with any country. So that's what free trade's focused on. Infrastructure, what does that mean about an economy? And productivity of American workers. What are some benefits of productivity of American workers, and how does those benefits influence decisions that we have to make? So make sure to get all your work done by Saturday night, and make sure to really focus on the content or the content of the questions, and go over and review what I've just given you. I think that will really help. But I look forward to your effort. You have one attempt on the quiz in 60 minutes. Take care.